So let's talk about communications. So email is a big one. So this is a lot of ways that people get compromised is through email, specifically spoofing, phishing, and other kind of fraudulent email accounts. So a phishing campaign is when someone sends you an email and tries to pretend that they're somebody else. So maybe they're pretending they're my superintendent, or maybe they're pretending they're Facebook or UPS. Who knows? There's a lot of ways they try to trick you. And it's important we never respond to these emails. Don't ever click anything inside the email. Don't ever download the attachments. You may not realize it's fake until you open it, but once you open it and you realize there's something off here. A common one is, hey, finance department person, I need to change my direct deposit. Can you let me know how can we process that today, or whatever the case may be? Another popular one is superintendent or somebody in authority comes down and says, hey, we want to do something fun for our staff. Do you mind running out and grabbing $100 in gift cards, and then just send me the gift card codes, and then I'll reimburse you. These are just common things that we see, and what happens is they're just trying to get you compromised so they can get your money or get your data. So you want to avoid that. The spoofing side of the phishing is that where they're impersonating something. The phishing is where they're trying to get you to interact or get you to receive an email where you do something thinking that you're doing something else. It's a deception, essentially. So, another thing with email is authentication. We want to make sure that we are safe in the way we access our email. One of the best ways to do that is having a strong password. I would say that's the number one way. You never want to use, your dictionary word or something that is I can easily guess. Things with your family, things with your town, your school. They're just not safe at all. I've seen so many bad passwords, people that use their last name and then an @ sign, an exclamation point, and 4 numbers. That is a super easy password to break. You got to consider that these people that hack machines and hack passwords, they're using what we call brute force attacks, and they have databases with millions and millions of passwords. And so they're going to hammer your account with those passwords until they find one that matches, and they're going to use every variation in the book that the system can think of. So these are very logical systems, and so you want to separate that from you. You don't want them to be able to engineer or do what we call social engineering to kind of trick you into giving them information that could ultimately make you give them your password without you even knowing it. So another way is two-factor authentication. Whether it's using Google Authenticator or there's other types of two-factor authentication like cell phone authentication or certain key fobs you can do. But I would recommend everybody listening to this to set up dual-factor authentication on everything that allows it, because even the most basic form, in the form of a cell phone, which is not the most secure but is way more secure than what you're doing today, the hacker would have to get access to your cell phone or compromise your cell phone in some way in order to get into your account. So it's going to put a barrier above and beyond what you're doing today. So you want to, again, strong passwords, dual authentication, and never give your password to anybody. So what is phishing? We're going to watch this briefly, not a long video, but I'm going to watch just a big old part of it, and then y'all can obviously watch the rest of it on YouTube. Yep.
While checking your email, you receive an alarming message from your bank. It says that your account might be jeopardized and provides a link to enter in your private information. Even though the logos and contact information appear to be correct, this email wasn't from your bank, but instead it was sent by cybercriminals looking to phish you. Phishing is when scammers trick you into divulging personal and financial information by pretending to be a legitimate source. Just like fishermen cast lines with bait fish, these scammers send out official-sounding emails, hoping that you will let your guard down. They often build entire pages and logins dedicated to looking like authentic banks or businesses, designed to get you to gain your trust or you're gone. Even more alarming, phishers can even pose as your friends and family to trick you. In some cases, a phishing email can install malware on your computer without you even entering your username and password. Regardless of how they obtain it, once cybercriminals have your login information, they can change your passwords, steal your money, and even your identity. There are many ways to identify a possible phishing email. No legitimate bank, government agency, or business would send you an email requesting that you re-enter your private information. Misspellings, poor grammar, and typos are also good indicators of a phishing email. If you receive a phishing email, the best thing to do is just ignore it and mark it as spam. You can also use anti-spam filters as a way to avoid these emails.
Okay, and so you can find that on YouTube. I think it's Kaspersky actually put that one out. So if you're a government agency, you can't actually use Kaspersky through a new government regulation, but Kaspersky did put this video out, and it's a really good video on how to identify and avoid spam. So, or filter, or not spam, phishing. Okay, so here's an example of phishing email. So this is one I actually built. So I built a phishing tool, and so just to show how simple that is to do, and then I phished a Hotmail account that I created. And so you notice this email looks like it came from alert@facebook.com. It went to my test account at hotmail.com. And then it just wants the user to reset their password. And so if I was to click on any of these links, it would, even the unsubscribe link, it has potential to compromise my account. So some things to look at here are, there's probably some misspellings. It's not really structured the way Facebook would do it, so you want to be aware of that. But also, and I can't do that here, but if I was to put my mouse over this A here and I was to click it, it would show that the email did not actually originate from Facebook.com. It is a fake email that came outside of Facebook's system, had nothing to do with Facebook. So you want to be aware of that kind of stuff. And besides that, Facebook will never send you a notice that says, "We've noticed unusual activity. Please reset your account." Typically, if you receive this and you think it might be legitimate, your best bet is to delete the email, go to Facebook.com, and actually reset your password there. So don't ever do it through an email, even if it seems like it might be legit. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide here. So these are some examples of what we call clickbait. So the same type of concept, only this is actually online. So you get these pop-ups that are trying to entice you to click on something, right? And so I'm sure you've seen a lot of these while you've been searching Google or different websites, and all of a sudden this clickbait pops up and says, "Hey, whether it's an attention or whether it's some kind of a looks like a news heading type of thing over here or something," and it wants you to click into it so that you're on their website, and then of course you're on their terms. When you click these things, you are opening your chances up to being infected by malware significantly. So just a good example, I did a hacking course several years ago, and this was a white hat hacking course. So it's a legal hacking course to find out what hackers do and how to prevent them. So one of the things I did is I created a website, and in this website I built it, and so that if someone came to that site that was running Windows 7 and Internet Explorer 8, that the moment they hit that website, I would get remote access control to their computer. At the time, Windows 7 was outdated. Internet Explorer 9 was also outdated. I think we were on 10 or 11 at that point. But it shows that if you don't keep your stuff updated and you click on some of these links, the user didn't have to do anything. They just had to go to my website. And once they went there, on my computer sitting in my office, I could see everything they were doing, and I had actual admin control over that machine. Keep in mind, this was all done in a lab. I didn't do it in an environment that would compromise anybody, so I wasn't breaking any laws for anybody concerned, but I was doing a proof of concept, and it worked flawlessly, repeatedly. And in fact, somewhere on YouTube, I posted the video of how it works, and it's actually shocking. So avoid clicking this type of stuff, and this is the type of things where, like, if I was to click this X right here, I would probably get the virus. Remind me later, I'd probably get the virus. Anything I click, sometimes even mousing over it will give you a compromise. So that's why you just leave it alone and let somebody in IT take care of it. So let's talk about encryption briefly. So why do we encrypt and when do we encrypt and the types of encryption? So I'm not going to go deep into encryption. Just know that we need to be doing it. If you're in a store sensitive data over a long period of time, it's better to encrypt it. And so I can't tell you how to do that, because obviously that's going to be something your organization sets forth and software that they have. First and foremost, if you have a laptop, you need to be encrypting your laptops. If you lose that laptop, I don't care if your password's a 300 character long password, in about 20 seconds, I can get into your hard drive and I can steal everything off your hard drive if it's not encrypted. So encrypting your hard drive makes it impossible for me to do that. So if you don't know if your hard drive's encrypted, talk to your IT staff and ask them. They would know. And if they don't know, then it's not encrypted. So that's definitely one step. Things on Google Cloud, we have a tool we use, I believe, SysCloud, and I'm not endorsing or not endorsing them, but that's who we use, and we're able to encrypt files on our Google Drive using that product. But there's a lot of products out there that allow you to encrypt files, and you got to figure out what's best for you. Just know that when it's encrypted, you don't have access to it. You have to click it and type a password, decrypt the file, and then you can have access to it. The same thing goes with emails. When we send an email, we send them through Google Drive or Google Email, or we use it to send it through Office 365. Both options have an encryption tool. We prefer Gmail for our most secure encryption, because its level of encryption is such that only the person who it was sent to can open it, and they can't print it, copy it, or in any other way get that information out of that email. And plus, it deletes itself after whatever specified number of days we send. But there are times when we have to send files, or we have to send stuff that needs to be copied. And when we need to do that, we use Office 365, and we send a special email that's only for special emails that need that type of access. And it uses encryption in that system to basically encrypt it, send it, and then when you receive that email, you have to decrypt it. You don't have to do much. You just click it and then it decrypts. And once it decrypts, it's open. So our kind of protocol for that is that when you receive an encrypted email, so from me, it would be at secure.canyonist.net. So when you receive a secure email, you need to get the files, do what you need to do with them, and then you need to delete that email so that data is gone. Because once you open the file, it's decrypted, and then therefore if your account's ever compromised, then that data is also compromised. Just one more note on encryption. There are flash drives that have built-in hardware encryption. I think IronKey is one of those. We've looked at that for our administrative staff as an option, where basically you plug in the flash drive and you type a password. And these things are so secure that if you type the password in wrong, like I think it's 5 times, it scraps the entire drive. It becomes literally a brick. You can't do anything with it. You can't physically tamper with it. So these are for really secure files. As long as you remember the password, or you keep it in a vault somewhere, don't keep it under your desk or hidden in your office or on a computer anywhere. But as long as you have access to that password, you can access those files. And if you don't have that password, those files are pretty secure. So just another option. FERPA, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on FERPA. We should all know what that is. We have state-required courses to take this, but we just need to make sure that the data practices we are doing are not violating FERPA. Kind of like that sharing thing. We have information that we have on a student, and if we're sharing that inappropriately, or we're not being careful of how we're sharing it, then we're essentially violating the FERPA law. So be very careful with what you're doing there. If you don't understand FERPA, or you don't understand how to protect student data, or what can be shared and what can't be, then definitely talk to your administrator. This course isn't on FERPA, but you need to be aware of that, because your sharing practices directly affect that.